Hello guys, so welcome back to the Crew calling all units. Top speed run number 13. The Bmw Z4 sDrive35is. sDrive standing for that it's two-wheel drive. If it's four-wheel drive, then it's called xDrive with BMW. It has a couple of specs. So we start with the full stock, which comes with 340 horsepower. Has no nitro. And so let's see what we can get out of it. That's sort of the idea in these top speed runs. Also here I'm a bit on delay due to the fact that I had a cold for a couple of days, meaning that I haven't been recording and uploading so much. So I'll have to catch up a little bit. And seeing I knew this in alphabetic order, came to the conclusion that the next few that I have to do alphabetically are a bunch where I do need to upgrade quite a bit. So I have been grinding a bit to save some bucks. There are some upcoming updates, so well, updates. It's more like they're fixing the mistakes that they have made with the release of calling all units, so they're kind of patching their own mistakes. It's going towards the limiter in 6th gear, 268, 269 kilometers an hour. And not much more out of it in full stock. It's two-wheel drive, it's a rear-wheel drive, and that well, it's a bit too much oversteering at times. Just a full stock, and especially also in street and performance you will see it at times you're thinking you're driving with a drift spec. There's a car here, so not gonna call this 250 or something on a flat section. 250, 251 seems to be the top speed if you're going on a more straight road. Pretty flat. Which is kind of normal, I think. Seeing, yeah, that's sort of the European regulation that these things, BMW, Mercedes, Audi, they kind of have a 250 kilometers an hour limit. So it makes sense that this can only do 250. Not so sure it's with all the cars in the game though, but it is what it is. It's a full stock, meaning that except for cruising around, there's not much purpose in this game for these things, except for well, you have to buy it, of course, because you need to get the specs for this thing. That's how this game works. You buy a full stock and then you buy tuning kits for it. 240.0, that's for the full stock, one of the slowest we tested so far, although this is number 13 and there are about 100 cars in the game. So yeah, quite a bit to do. The street spec: 470 horsepower, 611 Newton meter of torque. In the street edition, that is what you see here. That also comes with its own full stock, but that full stock is the same as the normal one, and the same goes for the normal one, which I'm looking here now. This is the normal one. So what is the difference with the street edition and the normal street spec? Not much. 470 horsepower, 611 Newton meters of torque, exactly the same. So power wise, handling wise, it's exactly the same. The only difference is that you get some extra rims and stickers and such coming with the street edition. Other than that, it's completely useless spec. There are 4 cars in the street edition, this being one of them. And it comes with a full stock and a street spec in street edition livery, but no other specs available. So that means that if you want to get the other specs, you still need to buy the normal Z4 full stock, and that also has a street spec. which makes this Street Edition completely useless because it's the same for the other 3 cars in that pack. The reason I have it is pretty simple. I bought the complete edition of this game and it was included, so I had that Street Edition pack. Has a long 5th gear, this thing, and yeah, let's see what we can get out of it. Street spec, we tested the Abarth that can do 374 plus, and this can do 372 plus, meaning the plus meaning that there is like a little gap between the speed that we reached here and the limiter, but it's only limiter. That means 374, 375 maybe on a long slipstream from a friend or something you might be able to get out of it, but on the downhill section there it was doing 372, and that's why I call it 372 plus. So that means that in ideal circumstances you might get a 374, 375 out of it, but either way that is a problem because there are cars and bikes doing 380 plus in street spec. Rear wheel drive, it slides about, it oversteers a bit, and if you really throw it into a corner it even oversteers a bit too much. And it mainly lacks acceleration, I think. It screams like hell, but other than that there are faster things in street spec. That car was in my way. 208.3 we did here. The Abarth I've checked earlier on the other video, and the Abarth did a 202 with the same nitro use as I always do, which means a full bar at the start, a full bar on the downhill to get as much speed as possible, and then a full bar after the last checkpoint. So 208 for the street spec, speed 372 plus. Performance spec 577 horsepower, which is about 107 more than the street spec. Let's see what this one can do. This has an even bigger problem, I think. Well, I don't think it because I noticed it. It has 7 gears, but it takes quite a bit before you get to 7th gear, and that kills the acceleration, and it will also, as you will see, it will also kill the top speed. And I had that with another car, I don't know which one it was. Was it the BMW for the X6, I think? 4th gear all seems to be okay, and then it's already stretching a bit. 5th gear should be already shifting here, and not yet. So 5th gear is already pretty long. Eventually it bumps into 6th, and that takes forever to get to 7th. Yeah, around 360 it goes to 7th, and then you need to get the speed out of it, and that means you get a 404 plus, double plus, which means there's a big gap between the limiter and the speed that we reached here. But seeing the 6th gear is so long, it's hard to get into 7th gear, so you need real ideal conditions to get much more out of this car. Kinda limited on a 404 there, but it was not on the limiter yet, so gonna call it a 404 plus, but I'm not so sure you're gonna get much out of it unless you get like a really long straight with some double slipstream from 2 or 3 friends maybe, but most of the time you will be around 405 or so, I think. Also not that easy to handle, but kinda low to the ground, so a 153.2. We had a 150 or 151 with Alfa Romeo 8C, I think, also one of the Aston Martins, something like that. And I'm pretty sure there was also one that already was like 149 or so. So yeah, that is because 404 gear issue. This car would have been perfectly if it would have had 6 gears or so. But it has 7, and that's a problem. 589 horsepower for the next spec, because this car is available well, in the most of the normal specs. It just doesn't have a dirt spec so far. Other than that, it has all the specs available. Rate spec, we haven't tested anything here. Yeah, bike BMW 1200, but yeah. There's a pretty strong nitro by the looks of it, because the acceleration of the car itself is not that superb apparently. Also here, long 5th gear, it's already suffering from the uphill. But this rate spec, I think it only has 5 gears. Some of the rate specs only have 5 gears, so. And I think even most of them do. But once this thing is going, it's not that bad. For a rate spec, you're looking at somewhere around 290, 300 kilometers an hour in slipstream. Let's see what we can get out of it. On the limiter here, probably, yep. 292. That is pretty fast for a rate spec. I'm pretty sure they will be slower if we have done more cars, but there will also be cars going over 300. $240, something like that, on a more flat road. Now we're getting a little bit drop from traffic here, so $240 seems to be the speed if you just stay on a normal road, which of course not the idea. It's a rate spec, you're supposed to go off-road, but $292, and that was kinda on the limiter, so even with slipstream you're not gonna get much more out of it. Can get 1 or 2 kilometers an hour more if you get a long slipstream. But it was kinda limiting, so don't expect much more out of that. And we have been ghost slipstreaming in the current time attack, which was a rate, and we were getting speeds around 300 kilometers an hour with other rate specs than this one. So 292 is a bit low actually, although I thought this had a pretty good top speed for the rate. Brakes, it has well, amongst the best, that's for sure. Pretty quickly goes to a standstill. I do get the pre-drive challenge bug here, but eventually we get the finish. With a 237.6 BMW 1200 in rate, I think we also did a 237 something, or at least a 230 something. But yeah, we're not time attacking here, we are giving an idea of the top speed in this top speed runs. $705 horsepower, that's the most we can get out of the circuit spec of the Z4. The problem with that thing is that it's a bit unstable. That means if you're gonna do something like what is that circuit there, Laguna Seca, with the S corner jump there, you might have a problem that it flips over. But it has strong NOS, it has pretty good acceleration, and it sticks to the road in the rain here, I noticed. but it tends to flip over if you go a bit too. You can get some two-wheel action, but like here it sticks to the road. I was kind of surprised by that. But on a really twisty track you might have a problem with it, because it's gonna give you some two-wheel action. Meanwhile, 428, pretty close to the limiter. So also here you're not gonna get much more out of it than 430, 435. So top speed wise, street spec we get a 370, where 380 plus is more of the best top specs. Performance of 404. That is, yeah, that's far from good. Rate spec 292, also there you have higher top speeds, and 428 here. Is also not that ideal. Knowing there are cars out there can do 450 and 460, so no. But because it sticks to the road, we do a 142 here. I haven't checked all the videos, but that is one of the fastest times we have done here so far. So the handling is probably making up for quite a bit, and it's not that it's slow. 428 is kind of pretty decent score there on the downhill. We'll see what a couple of the Lamborghinis do there. Those are or the Celine. Those are cars that are known for the top speed. 428, Ferrari 458 for instance can do 436, 437, so but it sticks to the road though. The handling is pretty good. That brings us to a 583 horsepower drift spec. Now, of course, top speed doesn't matter that much for a drift spec, so I have another track here where we do a second gear drift through these light posts and see what happens towards the checkpoint. Turn around there and then come back and see how it all goes. We've tested here one car so far, which was the BMW M5, and that is kinda one of the better drift specs. But also this M4 Z4 is not that bad. The only problem is it's a bit slow in second gear, so you might have to go to third gear, and that might be a bit too fast. Meaning that you need third gear and play around with the throttle a bit. But yeah, I don't think there are really bad drift cars. That being said, in my personal opinion, with the keyboard, I do not like the 7 gear cars. Corvette Stingray, Ferrari 458, McLaren 12C, cars like that have 7 gears in drift spec also, and yeah, that's always trouble. Are you gonna go for third gear, are you gonna go for fourth gear, and that kills the drifts. This one is not that bad, but it is a bit more, yeah. The M5 goes smoother, let's put it that way. But for a Euro or a or a German qualifier, you can definitely use this one as well, although the M5 will do better. Sometimes it flips about a bit. I already hit like 2 or 3 posts. With the M5 I made a little mistake hitting 1 post, but other than that it was pretty smooth. But the drifts itself are not that smooth in this thing, and we'll see. We did a 217 something with the M5 here. But that's of course a heavier car, so a 218.4 is not even that good. considering we were in a lower speed. So, no more videos left for this top speed run number 13. That means we have covered all the specs. It seems to be that in most of the specs it lacks a bit of top speed. Handling is pretty good on the circuit spec. 428 not even that bad. So on a track with long flat roads it might even be an option to use. I will see you guys in the next one, and bye for now.